to infinity and beyond.
Everybody, it's Roger and James here from DisKingdom, and in this episode we're going to be continuing our road to Marvel Vs Capcom Infinite. And in this episode we're going to be talking about Mega Man, trying to get ourselves familiar with the character a little bit. So Mega Man's been around for a long time, way back to the Nintendo Entertainment System days. I think the first game was way back. I'm just looking here when it was. I mean, we're talking
1987.
1987. I'm going to be honest, as part of this, and you will see in some gameplay that will be running underneath. I did download the Legacy Collection for Xbox and was playing that, and that which had 5 or 6 games in it. The second collection is actually out this week as well on PlayStation 4 and Xbox. So there's a load of them on there as well. So if you're into Mega Man, it's actually quite a good week for it. We're kind of tied in quite nicely. For me, I haven't just played through these. It's that thing of like, you run along and you're shooting, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't remember how hard these games were from when I was a kid.
Yeah, they are brutal. It's that old Nintendo difficulty. Obviously, these games were designed to only last like 2 or 3 hours, or maybe a bit longer in Mega Man's case. We talked about this in the Disney Afternoon Collection when we reviewed that. But yeah, the reason those games took forever was because you kept dying all the time and having to start from the beginning. And Mega Man, especially the first couple of Mega Mans, I think Mega Man 2 is considered like one of the hardest. I might be misremembering. I'm sure someone will correct us if I'm wrong. Mega Man's one of the worst examples of just like brutal difficulty. You know what?
See, for me, I actually didn't play the NES versions when I was a kid. I had a Game Boy version of one of the Mega Man games. I don't remember what it was. So he was a lot bigger. He was a much more bigger character, a little bit more easy to control. So I did grow up playing one of the Mega Man games. Played it a little bit. I don't remember which one it was, but I always loved the fact that, and one of these cool things when replaying it this week is, because you could pick which boss you wanted to go up against, it was that thing of, even if it was really tricky, you at least could play all the levels in the game. You didn't get chucked behind this kind of wall of just doing that first level over and over again. You could do them, and obviously you benefited doing them in different orders and stuff, but I always felt that was a cool design to kind of allow full freedom to let, especially as a kid, if you've only got like a game or two, to be able to try the different levels out and get around. So if you do get frustrated with one, you can jump into another. Or, I mean, they do have passcodes, so when you completed one, you could put your passcode in to kind of get that one knocked off, because ultimately if you turn your device off, you can start again. So at least they did do that. But yeah, a very hard game, very much a classic kind of style. Kind of funny, because when I was playing it, because I've been playing Mighty Gunvolt Blast on my Switch last month, which is very much a Mega Man kind of clone. But obviously with it being based today, with the benefits of today, but being a retro game, it's like, I was like, oh my word, like, trying Mega Man 1, I thought my controller was broken. It felt so bad. My wife actually said to me last night, she goes, "What were you playing last night? Because all I could keep hearing was the clicking of the controller." That was how much, even she could hear it. A flight up while trying to go to sleep was me with this controller, just bashing the buttons. And it was like, that's how much I was having to hit the buttons on this thing to kind of get to play Mega Man. But yeah, it was definitely it's definitely a hard game.
It's a very hard game. It's also more than just like having to bash the buttons. It's the kind of game that makes you want to throw your controller into your TV every once in a while.
I started the first game and I'm like, I just couldn't get up this ladder. I go, oh, come on, you can't even get past the first screen here. I keep dying. There were so many games though, but what really got me was the first. I mean, go back to 87, and it was like 89, 88, 90, 91. When I was playing the 6 games, and you're seeing this video, there wasn't really a lot of improvement. It didn't look like it improved at all as you're playing along.
No, and that's largely because most of the games came out on the same system. Of course, development time was a little bit shorter back then. And you know what, they built the engine for the first game. They didn't really need to make any changes. They just created new bosses, new enemies, maybe improved the code, because I think this was one of the games, the first or the second one, where they were talking about, we actually could only have a certain number of characters on screen at a time because the system couldn't handle it if there were more than that. And that it's improved as the Nintendo got farther into its life cycle, and then of course when they switched over to the Super Nintendo and all that. But
yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I mean, there are so many games. You've got all the Mega Man 10 collections. This is a character that has been around for so long. He's been in multiple games. I mean, obviously, this, what I'm talking about here was very much its early stages, like the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo era, before we even get into like Mega Man X, and kind of a character which kind of, you look here at the list of games, and there's been a lot of games over the years, but he's been in a lot. They had the Battle Networks. They really have, and there's Mega Man Zeros and the Mega Man ZX. They have been running around with Mega Man or Rockman for a long time, and it's definitely one of the most well-known of the Capcom characters.
You could probably argue that he's actually probably the most well-known of the Capcom characters that's in Marvel vs. Capcom anyway. Yeah. I know the Street Fighter characters are going to give him a run for his money, but most people know Mega Man. They at least know the look of Mega Man, the one gun and all that stuff like that. And what's interesting for him is he does slot into a lot of different genres very easily. Like, I'm surprised there haven't been more like RPG games with him. I know there've been a couple, but he just seems built for that, for the modular, constantly upgrading, like swap your gun out and now you can shoot buzzsaws out of it or whatever, But he works in so many different contexts, and his story, at least the basics for it, are so generic that you can fit him into just about anything. Of course, that's true of almost all the old Nintendo era games. It's not
they weren't that rich in terms of how they came together with these ideas.
You're a plumber who has fallen through a pipe, and you have to rescue the princess.
Yeah, and here we are, all these years later, and it's still just like, that's fine.
Oh, but now she bakes you a cake.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting series. It's that style of gameplay. If you like those kind of games, there are so many, and these different legacy collections and Mega Man X. I'll be honest, I missed. This is not a series it's something I've jumped in and out of a lot. I haven't played a lot of these games. For some reason, it's one of those weird things. I've always known what Mega Man was, and maybe because I had it might be that simple thing of because I found it too hard as a kid. I just that was enough to put me off. That I just didn't play it because I'm sort of thinking. No, I remember playing, but I never, none of my friends ever had a Mega Man game. But we knew about him. It was like it's an odd kind of one, really. It was a very different kind of era back then, but also as time's gone on, I think when the newer games came out, 2D platformers weren't a thing I played then. There was a whole decade where 2D platformers was just that was nothing that came out that was really like that.
Yeah, and I mean, even say Mario had moved to the third dimension at that point and whatnot, and that is one area Mega Man didn't make the transition to. I don't think they even ever tried to put him in the third dimension, but I can't imagine it working very well. I mean, it worked okay for Metroid, I guess, but
I mean,
I'm kind of glad they didn't.
Yeah, because you kind of get to that like N64 PlayStation era. From there on out, 2D platformers, you didn't. It's only really, to me, like in the last couple of years that we really started seeing a surge in it being because I think again, our generation are buying these and we like those kind of games, and now there's loads of them. This year alone, I could throw up Wonder Boy, Spectre, Shovel Knight. You've got you've got Sonic Mania coming out in next week, which I'm really excited about. There's so much of this stuff, and it's generally Mega Man is one of those kind of much easier games from the Marvel vs. Capcom characters to kind of get into and kind of be familiar with.
Yeah, and it's like you were saying, you may have never played them on the Nintendo, you may have never played them on the Super Nintendo, you may have never played them, period, but most people know who Mega Man is. Even non-video game players probably know who Mega Man is simply because he has such a large amount of saturation in the video game. There's so many games that just say Mega Man on them.
And also, I mean, so he's kind of, I mean, in some ways, he's got a pretty good rogues gallery as well, of lots of villains, lots of robots. I mean, the amount of robots I saw in those 6 games I was playing, it was like, you know, he's definitely giving Spider-Man a run for his money with how many he had.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, most of them are just take household object that can be used as a weapon and stick man on the end of it, which, of course, is a comics trope in itself. But, yeah, he's got a very diverse set of bad guys. They, for a very long time, were using new bad guys for every single game. And when you really get down to it, aside from some of the spin-off games, and I think maybe some of the more recent ones, there really aren't any truly bad Mega Man games.
No.
Now, Mighty Number 9 or whatever it was, which isn't actually a Mega Man game, but was developed, that apparently was a truly bad game. But
he's in that Mighty Gun Blast vote, because it was one of the
different game from that one.
Yeah, that was kind of, if you're gonna play one now, I would probably say pick that one up instead. Because it's probably a better version of it, because it's a retro game but with all of today's modern stuff chucked in. So I'm going to thank Lloyd for pointing me in that direction for the Res Network for that one. But generally, good fun. I just feel like as a whole, you know, Mega Man, but also it seems to fit into the Marvel Universe. It almost seems to make sense.
Out of most of the characters that we've seen on the Capcom side, he's one of the ones that does kind of fit into it. Now, having said that, you know, we did see him in some cutscenes in the demo, the downloadable demo that we could play at home, and they felt a little awkward to me. Yeah. He doesn't. His character design doesn't really work in a 3D space because it's such a simplistic design. But in principle, his powers, his abilities, looks, etc. Yeah, I was going to say he's very much an Iron Man or an Iron Lad or whatever. It definitely works, definitely much more than, say, Chris Redfield or the guy from the
Dead
zombie
Rising.
games.
Yeah,
Dead Rising. Yeah,
things like that.
Frank West.
Yeah,
you know, they're just normal people who were put into extraordinary situations, which is still, to be fair, a comics trope. But when you're looking at superpowered characters like Captain Marvel, Captain America, Spider-Man, etc., Mega Man seems much more in line with them.
Yes. On that then, guys, we'd love to know your thoughts on Mega Man. I'd love to know what you guys are thinking. And that continues on. We're going to be, as I said, we'll go over the next sort of 6-8 weeks, we're going to be running through all the different Capcom games and kind of a lot of it, as well as some of them just getting to know them, because some of them we don't know, so that's been kind of cool. So on that note, guys, check us out over at DisKingdom.com. You can hit that like button, follow button, or subscribe button, whichever platform you're watching or listening this to on. James, where can they find you?
I'm at heroiclegacy.com.
And on that note, guys, thank you very much for watching. See you guys soon. Later.